And so this chapter gives us some common aspects of the evidentialist approach. And there are basically three that they want us to be aware of. First, evidentialists focus on inductive as opposed to deductive argumentation, right? So they look at inductive because it's based on the facts of the world, right, and the facts of history. And so there's no way to give deductive evidence for facts of history is what they're arguing. And so it focuses on induction as opposed to deduction. Secondly, since it focuses on induction, as a result of that, there's the focus on the probability of the conclusion of the argument, so that you don't have certainty because you're dealing with facts in the world or of the world. And so you have probability. And then thirdly, they argue that they want neutral, content neutral methods in order to examine the arguments. And so they use, historical methods, legal methods, and scientific methods as they consider their various arguments. So those are the three main, aspects that our authors want us to know about how evidentialist apologetics work. Now we reach kind of an objection to the evidentialist's position, right? And this is, the postmodern challenge to evidentialism is what our authors want us to pay attention to. So what is the postmodern challenge to evidentialism? Well, they tell us that evidentialist apologetics seeks to present evidence for the truth of Christianity using methods of inquiry that are in principle acceptable to non-Christians, right? That's what we saw. This methodological approach has come under frontal assault from postmodernism. In essence, postmodernism, right, denies the modernistic belief that there is an objective truth about the world that can be discovered using reason. According to postmodernists, truth is subjective, not objective. Our knowledge of reality is a construction that we kind of build up as we look at the world through our eyes and through the assumptions and experiences of our communities. Right, and so that's kind of the postmodernist view of how truth is kind of gathered and understood. So why is this then a challenge to the evidentialists?
Well, yes. So therein lies the problem for evidentialism. If there is no universally recognized way of determining the truth, the evidentialist project of presenting evidence using an accepted method of established discipline can't even get off the ground because such accepted method no longer exists. So look, we're using the same method that you would use to convict a criminal of committing a crime, of a capital crime, of taking their life. We're saying no, let's come alongside and use the same type of argumentation and representation of the evidence, and the conclusion has to be to this high degree of probability. Or no. Let's look at science. Science also has this problem of induction, but we're used to putting our trust into the scientific method, so that way when outcomes occur and we're able to reproduce it, we're able to have peer members also look at the methods and the outcomes, then we can have a high degree of confidence that we can put our seats into this combustional explosive power and move it along roadways, and you can be confident that it will continue to go and not blow up. That's all out the window then, right? So the objective method of discovering truth cannot be used with people who believe that truth isn't discovered but manufactured. So right. Where do you go from there?
Right. And so our authors tell us that in general, evidentialists make common cause with classical apologists in rejecting outright the relativism and subjectivism of postmodernism, but both acknowledge that the rationalistic ideal of modernism does deserve criticism, right? So yes, rationalism, the rationalistic ideal does deserve criticism, as the postmodernists suggest, right? Because people cannot find out the truth about God or any other ultimate issue in life through human reasoning and investigation alone. And so the postmodernists, if that's the case, which seems to be the case, and that's what the evidentialists hold to, then postmodernists is left with no way at all to attain ultimate truth. Now, that's not true for the Christian. So you can make the criticism of, evidentialist kind of ideas that postmodernists make of, the modernist ideal of rationalism. You can make that criticism, but if you're a postmodernist, you have nowhere to go now to find ultimate truth, right? For the Christian, though, on the other hand, the failure of modernism, this rationalistic ideal, leaves us with revelation. And so that's our way of discovering the ultimate truth about God and the world. So the postmodernist has no way of discovering ultimate truth, if indeed their criticism of rationalism is true. The Christian can accept at least some of that criticism of rationalism, but yet we do have a way of discovering the truth. It's through the revelation that God has given us.
Right. So postmodernism, do better. Come up with the critique of revelation. There you go. Well, moreover, evidentialists, like classical apologists, stress the indispensability of reason as a means by which we are able to recognize God's revelation. While these apologists would deny that we can discover the truth about God on our own, they do contend that we can discover the truth of God's revelation by applying methods of such established disciplines as law, history, and science to the facts of Christianity. So again, bringing it back to the method. In order to make the case, classical apologists directly confront what they regard as the self-defeating, irrational character of postmodernism. That is, they argue that postmodernism is forced to make absolute statements denying absolute truth. So that's the classic of all classic argumentation against postmodernists.
There you go. There's no absolute truth. Oh, is that true? Yeah, right, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
So they're forced to make that kind of statement. So evidentialists endorse the criticism, right? This self-defeating notion of postmodernism that the classical apologists also endorse. But their chief objection to it is that in everyday matters, people do not accept a pluralistic, relativistic view of truth, right? Right. We don't say, well, the amount of money in my bank account is whatever somebody thinks it might be, right? Nobody says that, right?
Unless you're the United States government, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We don't discover it. We kind of create it. We'll try to tell that to the bank, right? I'm going to create the amount of money in my illustration they use is they say that virtually all people are outraged when neo-Nazi groups, for instance, claim that the Holocaust never happened. So much for the postmodern claim that history is whatever people construct it to be, right? Or your bank account is whatever you construct it to be. Nobody lives like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, even I've heard postmodern philosophers before say, well, yes, I do believe in this kind of postmodern idea of unobjective truth, but when I talk to people, I don't argue like that. Well, okay, then what's your point? If you can't go based off your method, then don't be a status authority person to listen to, and make claims. It's just an odd predicament one finds themselves in there. But it does seem that postmodern seems to be more on the way out, and I hear a little bit less of that, I think, in the world.